The President of Israel, Isaac Herzog, is due to arrive in Australia on Sunday for a 5-day visit. The government has invited him in the wake of the Bondi terror attack. There's a broad range of views in Australia about his visit. Some say it'll be a powerful symbol of solidarity, support and healing. Others say it will fuel the flames of division. Chris Sidoti is a commissioner of the UN-appointed Commission of Inquiry into Gaza, and he joins us now. Chris Sidoti, welcome. So the Prime Minister says this is an opportunity for unity. Can you see this as an occasion which will bring people together?
No, I can't. There's no way that I can see that. I think that Isaac Herzog is one of the most divisive figures in the world, and coming to Australia at this stage will only undermine the social cohesion that the Prime Minister has indicated he considers such a high priority for Australia after the massacre of Jewish people in Bondi on 14 December. He is the exact wrong person if we want to build national unity, social cohesion, the exact wrong person to be inviting to this country.
So you sit on this UN Commission of Inquiry into Gaza, and you launched an investigation into claims of incitement of genocide, and found that indeed a statement by Isaac Herzog and other leaders amounted to incitement to genocide. We might just take a listen now to what he said. This is the statement in contention, and this is just days after the Hamas terror attack on Israel.
There's a state, in a way, that has built a machine of evil right at our doorstep. It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. It's not true. This rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved, it's absolutely not true. They could have risen up, they could have fought against that evil regime which took over Gaza in a coup d'etat, murdering their family members who were in Fatah.
And so that was in 2023. But in that same media conference, he also said Israel always operates according to international law and that there are many innocent Palestinians. And he was also asked this question later.
You seem to hold the people of Gaza, the civilians of Gaza, responsible for not removing Hamas, and therefore, by implication, that makes them legitimate targets.
No, I didn't say that.
But
I did not say that. I want to make it clear. I was asked something about separating civilians from Hamas. But with all due respect, if you have a missile in your goddamn kitchen and you want to shoot it at me, am I allowed to defend myself? Yes. That's the situation.
OK, Chris Sidoti, so President Herzog says his words in that media conference have been twisted to suggest that he was calling for collective punishment when he wasn't. Why did you conclude in your investigation that he was?
First, we came to the same conclusion as the journalist who asked the question to President Herzog did when listening to the first part of his statement. It was only when he was challenged about that he started to qualify it or back away from it. But his meaning was clear. The entire nation, were the words he used, is responsible. Meaning clearly all Palestinians in Gaza were responsible for the actions of Hamas. Those words were so clear that they were picked up by Israeli soldiers in the field. We have seen videos of soldiers chanting, "They are all responsible." We have seen that phrase used as graffiti by soldiers on Palestinian buildings in Gaza. So his meaning was clear to the soldiers, as it was to us, as it was to the journalist who asked the question. And that's why we consider that he needs to be investigated by the International Criminal Court and prosecuted, if the evidence justifies prosecution, for incitement to genocide.
So do you think he should be welcomed into Australia on Sunday or not?
He should not be welcomed into Australia. This is one of the most divisive figures in the world, as I said. And even quite apart from the question of whether he personally incited genocide, he's the head of state of a state that is really a rogue state. The International Court of Justice has already found that Israel is responsible for the illegal occupation of Palestinian territory, is responsible for the illegal establishment and maintenance of settlements on Palestinian territory, is responsible for the purported illegal annexation of parts of Palestine. The International Court of Justice has a case before it against Israel for genocide. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for the Prime Minister and former Defence Minister.
Indeed, the ICC has issued those arrest warrants, but not for Isaac Herzog.
And that's why I say, as head of state, he's at the top of the pyramid, as far as you can go. He's ceremonial. We found that he is not personally responsible for war crimes and crimes against humanity because he has no part in the chain of command. But as head of state, he is the representative of a rogue state that international courts have found is acting unlawfully, and a state that is before the International Court of Justice on the charge of genocide. The person who is the chief representative, the embodiment of the state, should not be making a state visit to Australia at this time.
But what about the horrors of the Bondi terror attack, those families who are still grieving and dealing with the trauma of what happened, who are looking forward to this visit and hoping it can bring some sort of healing and optimism?
I hope it does bring some healing and optimism for them. I really do. But what is the cost of that? I would have thought it more appropriate not to bring a political leader, but to bring a religious leader, somebody who, in fact, firstly, can provide real comfort and support for the families, and secondly, someone who can speak to the nation about compassion, solidarity, sharing, about unity. But instead of a religious figure who can play those important roles in helping us to heal as a nation and helping the Jewish community to heal, we're bringing out a political leader of a rogue state who is one of the most divisive figures in the world. It's nuts. It's crazy.
But his supporters say he's had a history of calling for dialogue in the Middle East.
And much of that history he has repudiated, and particularly did so in accepting the office of president. He no longer supports what's called as the two-state solution. His statements, as I indicated and as the video showed, since 7 October 2023, have been more extremist and more violent than what he said previously. But we have to assess it. We have to judge it now on the basis that he is the president of Israel, the president of a state that has been found to have committed war crimes, crimes against humanity, that we, from our Commission of Inquiry, consider has committed genocide, and a state that is on trial, even as we talk here, before the International Court of Justice on that charge. It is simply nuts to bring this guy to Australia at this time.
New South Wales has extended its protest restrictions to cover the period of the Isaac Herzog visit. The New South Wales Police Force says this is for community safety. What do you make of that reasoning?
I can see the concerns for community safety. You're a young bloke, Joe. I'm much older. I was 15 in 1966 when Lyndon Johnson came to Australia. That's probably the most divisive state visit to Australia before this, at least in my lifetime. And there was violence, there were riots. Memorably, demonstrators sat down in front of the President's car and the then Premier of New South Wales demanded that the driver run over the bastards. This is a visit that is extremely divisive, and the fact that the police see a need to prohibit marches because of community safety means that the police see its divisive nature. They're concerned, as I am concerned, about this undermining social cohesion. So I understand the concern, but there needs to be proper assessment and proper opportunities for people to express their opinion. I have not made that assessment. I don't know whether the march ban is a good idea or not, but I certainly understand the concerns that this visit is going to cause more division, not unity, will undermine social cohesion, not build it.
Do you think there's still time for the federal government to rescind this invitation? Is that what you're calling for?
Absolutely. You know, the Prime Minister is admired for the fact that he is willing to acknowledge when he has made a mistake and change course. There's still time for him to do so. When he made this decision, issued the invitation in December, it was at an extraordinarily traumatic time for the Jewish community, and he was listening to them, and for the rest of the community, and for him. Let's not underestimate the trauma felt by someone who was Prime Minister of Australia at the time. So it's an understandable decision but it's a mistake. It's nuts. And there is time for the Prime Minister, as he has done on other occasions, to recognise the error and change course.
Okay, Chris Sidoti, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Joe.